Do I have to worry about bark beetle outbreaks after a hurricane or after a big bad weather, after any storm?
So you will see some IPs after hurricanes. They're fairly non-aggressive, but they're very good at attacking trees that have some sort of weakness to them. When a tree gets blown around, you're getting like micro fractures, teeny tiny cracks, and that's releasing chemicals, and the beetles are smelling that, and they're coming because that's a stress factor.
IPs, bark beetles, IPS, are not an epidemic type of a beetle. So what might also be happening is that as the trees get blown around, these bugs go in them because they got blown around, not because they're in any epidemic, right?
I can reflect on our experience with Hurricane Michael. We've got roughly 1 million pine trees on the site, and so there's a lot of beetles around. We've got these high background populations of the sorts of bark beetles that you might be worried about following a hurricane. We lost site-wide around 15 to 20% of our canopy went down in the hurricane, and we had a lot of broken trees, leaning over trees, all that stuff on the ground. We did not see some outbreak or increase in bark beetle activity after the hurricane, not in the months following, not in the year following, not in 2 years following.
Now, mind you, we are working in highly managed systems, and we do think that two factors are important. One is the timing of the disturbance. Hurricane Michael is the big one, which happened in the fall, which was more towards the end of the insect season, so to speak. And also, the second thing is the management. We worked in actively managed areas, and they salvaged and harvested as soon as possible to recoup the economic losses, but also to push regeneration forward. They moved timber out really quickly.
From our experience and the land managers and landowners that were turning to us, what we have been telling them is you may see a lot of beetles come in at first because there's a lot of material on the ground. But after a while, things kind of went back to an equilibrium here, and that pulse from all that material that was down on the ground didn't last long for us.
What we're saying is specific to southeastern beetles and pines. In other parts of the world, after a storm, bark beetles often go into an outbreak, but ours don't seem to.
They are just simply responding to a whole bunch of trees that have been stressed.
So our studies are limited. We should still be on the watch out. If somebody experiences a really catastrophic wind disturbance event, and there's a lot of tree damage and mortality, for the first few years, they should still be monitoring their stands very closely to see that there aren't any outbreaks, there aren't any insect disease issues down the road.
I'm seeing the same thing again, that we're looking at the insects and we imagine they're the enemy, but really they're the symptom of what has happened inside the trees. So we should pay attention to bugs, yes, but mostly it's about the tree health that needs to be taken care of.
We do know from the literature that hurricanes are becoming more intense with time, and they're rapidly intensifying. So catastrophic wind disturbance events are a major concern, and they're going to continue to be a major concern in terms of our forest sustainability for the long term.
So these data suggest that we don't need to worry about the bugs too much, but what we need to worry about are the worsening conditions in which the trees grow. And that's especially important here in Southeast. We need to keep our forests healthy because they're part of the solution. They're a buffer against the changing climate.